Hello Golden State Warriors fans. We are here once again to bring you the latest news related to our team, and I would like to emphasize how committed we are to improving our performance to achieve great results. Before we dive into this intriguing news, I kindly request you to show your support by clicking the like button, and if you are not yet subscribed to our channel, I invite you all to join us on an exciting journey. Remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything.
Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green didn't hold back after the Golden State Warriors' latest collapse. Their frustration reached a boiling point following another disappointing loss, this time to the Houston Rockets in an NBA Cup matchup. Golden State squandered a 14-point lead against a Rockets team missing Kevin Durant, exposing once again their lack of composure against top-tier opponents. To make matters worse, Stephen Curry suffered a thigh injury in the fourth quarter and had to leave the game in the final seconds for further evaluation. But the most striking fallout came after the final buzzer, when Butler and Green, two of the team's emotional anchors, openly criticized their teammates' effort and mentality. Jimmy Butler called out the Warriors' lack of execution and insisted Steve Kerr wasn't to blame. Speaking after the loss, Butler addressed the team's struggles head-on, especially with Curry sidelined. Without their superstar, the Warriors need to play with more urgency, but Butler made it clear that the team simply isn't doing enough to win games. What more has to change? I think we have to be almost perfect. We don't have that ultimate savior on our team, Butler said. And even when he's out there, we still have to do our jobs, because we make the game way harder than it needs to be. He continued, highlighting how much burden Curry carries night after night. As great as he is, he has an incredibly tough job. Every day, he has to be the Batman of all Batmans. That's not what he's here for. Butler went further, pointing to fundamental breakdowns the team keeps repeating. We don't box out. We don't follow the scouting report. We let anybody do whatever they want, open shots, drives to the rim, free throws. It's just sad. He emphasized that the responsibility lies with the players, not the coaching staff. I don't know, and honestly, I don't care. We just have to do what we're supposed to do as players. I don't care what Steve says, it's not on him or the coaching staff. They give us everything we need. They put us in the right spots. Don't listen to Steve when he says, "It's my fault." It's on the guys in that locker room. Draymond Green went even further, calling the entire team terrible. When Green stepped to the microphone, his message was even harsher. Our defense is awful, he said. It's not even about the numbers. How do you feel when you're out there? If it's disappointment after disappointment, it's deeper than the stats. Green criticized the team's lack of physicality and presence. Defense is about posture. If someone breaks your posture, they break your swagger. And then you're just a weak team. What does the other team feel when you're guarding them? Right now, they feel nothing. No pressure. Even if we get stops here and there, where's the force? He challenged every player individually. We don't have that. We all have to take on our challenge. If you take your individual challenge, then we can function as a team. At this moment individually, and I know people love to twist words, we're terrible. Green's comments echoed the frustrations he expressed weeks earlier regarding the team's lack of personal motivation. Butler has also mentioned that Green has been furious about the Warriors' defensive effort since the start of the season. This feels like a breaking point for Golden State. With a disappointing start, mounting injuries, and growing tension inside the locker room, the Warriors may be running out of time. Unless drastic changes are made soon, there may not be much season left to save. The fallout from Butler and Green's comments was immediate. Inside the Warriors organization, there was a clear understanding that such strong language wasn't accidental. It reflected a deeper growing frustration that had been simmering for weeks as the team continued to stumble through a season filled with inconsistency, injuries, and a glaring lack of urgency. According to team sources, some players were taken aback by how bluntly Butler and Green addressed the issues publicly. While both veterans have long been known for their honesty and willingness to confront problems head-on, this time the tone felt different, more desperate, more urgent, and more reflective of a team that senses its window closing. Internally, the coaching staff is now facing a significant challenge, maintaining trust and cohesion in a locker room that has begun pointing fingers. Kerr has always emphasized accountability and clarity, yet the very leaders who usually support his message are now calling out their teammates with unprecedented intensity. Around the league, analysts and former players have weighed in as well. Many believe Butler and Green's comments highlight a fundamental problem with Golden State's current construction. The blend of aging veterans and developing young players has yet to mesh the way the organization envisioned, leaving the team stuck between competing timelines. Some insiders have suggested that the Warriors' front office may need to explore roster adjustments sooner than expected. While no major move appears imminent, pressure is mounting, especially with the team slipping in the Western Conference standings. Executives reportedly understand that standing still could jeopardize not only this season, but the entire competitive structure the franchise has spent years trying to preserve. Meanwhile, Curry's injury looms over everything. Without him, Golden State has historically struggled, and the Warriors now find themselves without their offensive engine and emotional stabilizer. If he misses significant time, the burden on Butler and Green, already heavy, will grow even heavier. For a team that has relied on Curry's brilliance to erase mistakes and mask underlying problems, his absence exposes every flaw. Players close to the situation admit privately that the Warriors' margin for error is now almost non-existent. Some believe the only way forward is for the entire roster to embrace the uncomfortable truths Butler and Green spelled out. Others worry that such public criticism could fracture the team further, especially among younger players who are still learning how to handle adversity at the NBA level. Still, the message from Golden State's two vocal leaders was unmistakable. The team must change its habits or accept its fate. As the Warriors prepare for a challenging stretch of games, their season stands at a crossroads. The next few weeks will determine whether Butler and Green's fiery words ignite a turnaround, or whether this marks the beginning of a deeper unraveling for a franchise that once defined the modern NBA. If the Warriors cannot respond with urgency, discipline, and unity, the repercussions could reach far beyond this season, raising questions about strategy, roster construction, and the future of one of the league's most storied cores. NBA fans are pointing fingers at Steve Kerr after Stephen Curry suffered a thigh contusion late in the Warriors' loss, some even comparing Kerr's decisions to Tom Thibodeau-level minutes. Many believe Curry wasn't adequately protected by the Golden State Warriors head coach, and that the oversight directly contributed to the injury. Golden State fell to the Houston Rockets in a crucial NBA Cup matchup, but the defeat might not even be their biggest problem. Curry limped off the floor in the final minute of the fourth quarter after taking several hard hits from Houston defenders. His injury could send the Warriors into a dangerous downward spiral, especially with the team already sitting at a disappointing 10-10. But in the eyes of many Warrior supporters, the blame doesn't fall on Houston, it falls on their own coach. NBA fans blast Steve Kerr for failing to protect Curry. As soon as Curry hobbled off the court, fans took to social media to criticize Kerr for leaving him exposed in a game that was slipping away. One fan on X wrote, "Chef getting the Tom Thibodeau treatment from Kerr, running him into the ground with those tiny lineups." Another added, "Warriors media needs to tell Kerr he cannot keep playing four guards at once. When is he going to learn?" A third fan tried to predict the severity of the injury on the spot: thigh contusion. Probably out 1 to 2 weeks. A fourth demanded accountability. Please ask Kerr about these rotations. Not all fans blamed the coach, though. One pushed back, writing, "The referees need to be investigated." Another shifted the blame toward Houston. "The Rockets try to hurt this guy every time they play the Warriors." Steve Kerr confirmed Stephen Curry suffered a right thigh contusion. Speaking after the loss, Kerr told reporters that Curry sustained a right quad contusion and was undergoing an MRI. "When I heard it was a quad contusion, I was relieved," Kerr admitted. "Better than an ankle or knee injury." Early expectations suggest Curry may miss 1 to 2 weeks, leaving the Warriors with a challenging stretch ahead as they attempt to stay afloat without their superstar. But if Curry's recovery takes longer than anticipated, Golden State may have no choice but to consider significant changes to their roster in hopes of salvaging what's left of an already fragile season. Beyond the immediate injury update, Curry's situation has intensified a growing conversation around the Warriors' internal issues, problems that have been simmering beneath the surface for weeks. With Klay Thompson struggling to find consistency, Draymond Green serving multiple suspensions, and the bench offering little stability, the Warriors have leaned harder than ever on Curry to keep them competitive. That dependency is now being exposed in real time. As analysts pointed out after the game, Kerr's rotation choices have become a recurring concern. Several NBA insiders highlighted that Golden State has been routinely closing games with undersized lineups, putting added physical pressure on Curry to create offense, navigate defensive mismatches, and absorb contact in the paint. His high usage rate, one of the highest of his career at age 36, is raising red flags both inside and outside the organization. Former players also weighed in. One Western Conference scout told local reporters that the Warriors system is showing its age, arguing that Kerr's reliance on small ball principles may no longer fit the roster's current strengths. Another analyst noted that Golden State's opponents, particularly younger and more physical teams like Houston, have begun aggressively targeting Curry on both ends of the floor, knowing the Warriors have few alternatives capable of relieving the pressure. Meanwhile, Curry's absence could have immediate standings implications. Golden State's margin for error is shrinking rapidly in a crowded Western Conference, where even a short losing streak can derail playoff hopes. Several outlets pointed out that the Warriors' upcoming schedule includes matchups against the Lakers, Thunder, and Nuggets, all teams capable of exploiting Golden State's weaknesses without Curry orchestrating the offense. Inside the locker room, players expressed both concern and determination. Veteran leaders acknowledged that the team has been slow to adjust to adversity, and one source described the mood as quiet but frustrated, especially with the team hovering around .500 after a decade of championship-level expectations. If Curry misses extended time, pressure will mount on Kerr not only to adjust his rotations but to prove that the Warriors system can survive without its foundational star. League insiders believe that any significant slump during Curry's recovery could force the front office to reassess the roster before the trade deadline, a scenario that once seemed unthinkable during the dynasty years. For now, all eyes remain on Curry's MRI results and the Warriors' response in the coming games. The franchise has endured setbacks before, but this latest blow has many wondering whether Golden State's window is finally starting to close, and whether Kerr's decisions, once unquestioned, are now contributing to the team's growing instability. Jimmy Butler has been giving the Warriors more than ever this season, but the results simply aren't matching his effort. Last year, Butler's arrival felt like a turning point for Golden State. The proof was in the numbers, a phenomenal 23-7 record in the 30 games Butler played during the 2024-25 season. With that in mind, many expected the Warriors to look just as sharp heading into 2025-26. Some even called for Butler, the former Miami Heat star, to take on an even bigger load. And to his credit, Butler has answered that call. So far in the 2025-26 campaign, he's doing more with less for Golden State. Heading into the season, fans worried about what Butler's role would look like without Stephen Curry on the floor. But head coach Steve Kerr put his trust in the 36-year-old veteran, and individually, Butler has proven Kerr right. Through the first 18 games, Butler is playing fewer minutes but delivering more production. He's scoring more, pulling down slightly more rebounds, and maintaining a strong overall presence. The only dip is in his assists per game. Still, Butler's expanded role isn't translating to the results the Warriors desperately need. Despite his adjustments, Golden State's overall performance has been far from encouraging. The frustration boiled over after a brutal 104-100 loss to the shorthanded Houston Rockets, a game in which Curry also suffered a thigh injury. With Curry expected to miss time, Butler's numbers will likely rise even further. But at this point, individual stats mean nothing if the Warriors can't string together wins. Right now, Golden State sits 8th in the Western Conference with a disappointing 10-10 record. Butler has been vocal on and off the court, trying to spark something in this team, but the real question is whether that spark will be enough to pull the Warriors back on track. But the concern around Golden State isn't just about the standings. It's the way the team is losing. Long stretches of stagnant offense, defensive breakdowns in crucial moments, and a lack of identity have fueled the growing frustration among fans and analysts. For a franchise that built its reputation on cohesion, movement, and joy, the Warriors look strangely disconnected. Inside the locker room, Butler has reportedly taken on a louder leadership role than last season. Teammates have described him as demanding but fair, constantly pushing for accountability. Still, even Butler's intensity hasn't been enough to mask the issues that keep resurfacing. Several players have hinted that the team hasn't fully adjusted to the new offensive structure that places more responsibility on Butler when Curry is off the floor. The front office is also beginning to feel the pressure. Rumblings around the league suggest that competitors are monitoring the situation closely, questioning whether Golden State might explore roster changes if the slide continues. While no major move seems imminent, the uncertainty is creating a sense that this could be a pivotal stretch for the franchise. Steve Kerr, meanwhile, has remained publicly composed, emphasizing patience and continuity. But his rotations have grown increasingly experimental as he searches for combinations that can generate consistent energy on both ends of the court. Younger players like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody have shown flashes, yet the inconsistency across the roster makes it hard for Kerr to settle on a long-term solution. As for Butler, the spotlight has never been brighter. He knew when he arrived that replacing the declining stability around Curry would be a heavy task, but few expected the weight to fall this quickly or this sharply. With Curry sidelined and the Warriors drifting toward mediocrity, Butler's voice, production, and leadership will determine whether Golden State can regroup or spiral further. And the league is watching closely. Opposing teams respect Butler's competitiveness, but many doubt whether his style can elevate an aging roster plagued by injuries, depth issues, and fading chemistry. Every game from here on feels like a test, not just of Butler's impact, but of the Warriors' long-term direction. For a team that once dominated the NBA with swagger and precision, the question now is whether they can find that rhythm again before the season slips away. Not only Stephen Curry, but Draymond Green may also be dealing with an injury after the Warriors' humbling loss to the Houston Rockets. After a promising 4-1 start, Golden State has undeniably struggled to find its rhythm. A brutal schedule has taken a clear toll on this Warriors team, and it's not hard to see why. The Dubs have the oldest starting lineup in the NBA, and the wear and tear is beginning to show. Their biggest fear became reality when Stephen Curry went down with a thigh injury during the loss to Houston. But that might only be the beginning of Golden State's problems. There are now growing concerns that veteran forward Draymond Green could also be playing through pain. NBA insider Anthony Slater believes Green is hurt, even if he hasn't publicly admitted it. Steve Kerr already faced heavy criticism for Curry's injury against the Rockets, and things may get even more complicated for the coach if Slater's assessment is accurate. During a recent episode of the Hoops Collective, Slater suggested that Green is quietly battling an injury. I talked to him in the locker room last night. He didn't play yesterday. He wants to play on Wednesday. I compared the situation to that time Marcus Smart fell on Steph's foot, Slater explained. That happened during the championship season. Steph missed a month. I tried comparing that to Draymond. Slater believes Green's situation resembles the infamous moment when Marcus Smart, then with the Boston Celtics, landed on Curry's foot in 2022, sidelining him for weeks. While the Warriors ultimately won the title that season, it could have derailed everything. Green, however, has pushed back on the idea that his current issue is anything like Curry's 2022 injury. So far, Draymond has appeared in 17 of the Warriors' 20 games, including the recent matchup against Houston. He's been vocal about the team's poor performance, yet noticeably quiet about his own physical condition. The reason may lie in what he told Slater before the game. Draymond was saying that Steph had actually torn something. Draymond didn't do that. But it was painful, Slater noted. He was putting on his shoe in the locker room while I was talking to him, and you could see him wincing. With the Warriors sitting at 10-10 and Curry already sidelined, losing Green would be a devastating blow. At a time when Golden State desperately needs stability and leadership, another injury to a core veteran could push their season to the brink. The growing uncertainty around Green's health has only amplified the anxiety surrounding the Warriors' season. Even if he insists the injury isn't severe, the visual evidence tells another story. Observers have noticed subtle changes in his movement, slower rotations, less elevation on rebounds, and a clear hesitancy when absorbing contact in the paint. For a player whose game relies heavily on physicality and defensive instincts, even a minor setback can compromise the entire structure of Golden State's system. Within the organization, there is a quiet understanding that the margin for error is slimmer than ever. With Curry unavailable and Green possibly limited, the Warriors are forced to lean on a roster that has struggled to find consistency. Players like Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and Brandon Podziemski have shown flashes, but none have yet emerged as the stabilizing force the team desperately needs during this turbulent stretch. The coaching staff is facing difficult decisions as well. Kerr's rotations are becoming a focal point of criticism, particularly as he attempts to balance the need for defensive stability with the urgency for offensive production. If Green's injury worsens, Kerr may have no choice but to expand the roles of younger players who are still learning how to close games at an NBA level. Around the league, rival executives are watching closely. Some believe that the Warriors could soon reach a breaking point, where the front office may be forced to consider moves they previously avoided, whether that means altering the roster, reshaping the rotation, or shifting their long-term strategy. The dynasty that once seemed invincible is now being tested in ways few expected. Draymond's teammates, meanwhile, are aware of what his absence would mean. Green has long been the emotional and defensive anchor of the team. Losing him, even temporarily, would leave a gaping hole in both leadership and identity. Several players privately admitted that Green remains the one who sets the tone in practices, holds teammates accountable, and ensures that energy doesn't dip when adversity hits. Yet despite all the concerns, Green continues to suit up and push through. For now, he remains committed to keeping the Warriors afloat until Curry returns. But the question hanging over the franchise is whether pushing through the pain will help Golden State regain its footing, or lead to a far more damaging setback down the road. With a difficult stretch of games approaching, every moment counts. The Warriors are standing at a crossroads, their season teetering between a potential turnaround and a slide that could reshape the future of the franchise. Reggie Miller has made his choice for the one current NBA player who could one day threaten Stephen Curry's all-time three-point record, and surprisingly, it's a rookie. The Hall of Famer believes a young first-year standout might be the first player capable of making Curry nervous about his historic mark. NBA records aren't meant to last forever, but some feel untouchable. LeBron James' all-time scoring record, which continues to climb, is one of them. Wilt Chamberlain's iconic 100-point game is another. And for years, Ray Allen's career three-point record seemed like a number no one would ever exceed, until Stephen Curry shattered it, redefining the meaning of long-range shooting. Reggie Miller was courtside when Curry broke Allen's record, a symbolic moment for the sharpshooting legend who once held the mark himself. But now, Miller believes someone else may eventually surpass Curry, and he isn't talking about an established star. He's talking about Nuple. During an appearance on the Dan Patrick Show, Miller spoke at length about Nuple's breakout season with the Charlotte Hornets, a campaign that has quickly made him the frontrunner for Rookie of the Year. Beyond the awards buzz, Miller sees something more. A player whose early numbers resemble, and in some ways surpass, the pace Curry set at the beginning of his career. He's going to win Rookie of the Year, Miller said. And dare I say this? In about 15 years. Stephen Curry might be a little nervous. Miller pointed to the comparison between Curry's first 3 seasons and the production Nuple is delivering right now. The gap may be smaller than many realize. Still, Miller stressed that talent alone isn't enough. The real test is longevity. That's the catch, he continued. He has to stay healthy. He has to last. Curry's been doing this for 17, 18 seasons. Can Nuple sustain this level for that long? That's the real question. But what he's doing in Charlotte is special. Of course, Nuple still has an enormous climb ahead. Curry's three-point record isn't just impressive, it's historic. With 4,131 made threes and counting, Curry is the only player in NBA history to eclipse the 4,000 mark. The closest active player is James Harden with 3,237, a distant second that highlights the scale of Curry's dominance. For Nuple to truly challenge Curry's record one day, he would need to maintain his current pace for more than a decade, dramatically increase his shot volume, and remain one of the league's most efficient shooters year after year. It's a daunting task. But if Reggie Miller is willing to point to a rookie as Curry's potential successor, the NBA world is paying attention. Miller's comments quickly sparked discussion around the league. Analysts, former players, and fans began dissecting Nuple's early numbers, comparing his shooting volume, efficiency, and shot creation to the standards Curry set across his career. While no one is ready to label him the next Steph, many agree that Nuple represents a new wave of players shaped directly by Curry's influence. Players who grew up studying his mechanics, his footwork, and his off-ball movement as blueprint material rather than anomalies. League insiders also acknowledged that the environment in Charlotte has played a meaningful role in Nuple's early success. The Hornets have given him offensive freedom, designed sets to maximize his shooting comfort, and allowed him to take on responsibility uncommon for rookies. Coaches around the NBA have taken notice, with some privately noting that Nuple's development could force teams to rethink how they scout modern shooters. Instead of looking for pure spot-up specialists, organizations are now searching for players who can shoot on the move, relocate instinctively, and operate within the pace and space systems that Curry helped popularize. Still, even with all the excitement surrounding Nuple's potential, there remains a sense of caution. Many around the league have pointed out that sustaining elite three-point production over an entire career requires more than skill. It demands consistency, adjustment, durability, and the ability to evolve as defenses adapt. Curry, over the years, reinvented his game multiple times to stay ahead of opponents. Scouts and executives wonder whether Nuple, or anyone else, will be able to mirror that kind of long-term adaptability. Curry himself has not publicly commented on Miller's remarks, but those close to him say he remains unfazed. He has always acknowledged that records are meant to be broken, even if he has no plans of slowing down. In fact, insiders report that Curry is more focused on expanding his lead than protecting it. With his record already beyond the reach of most active players, each season adds hundreds more threes to his ever-growing total, creating a gap that could take decades for anyone to close, if it can be closed at all. Meanwhile, conversations within NBA front offices have quietly expanded. Some executives believe that the rise of players like Nuple is a direct result of the league's shifting developmental priorities. Youth coaches now emphasize range, spacing, and off-ball movement far more than in past decades. If Curry's record is ever broken, they argue, it will be by a player raised in this new ecosystem. Others, however, argue that Curry's combination of accuracy, volume, creativity, and durability is so rare that his record may stand longer than many expect. They cite examples of high-volume shooters whose careers were shortened by injuries, declines in efficiency, or changes in role once they entered their 30s. As for Nuple, he has remained grounded throughout the discussion. When asked about Miller's comments, he downplayed the idea of chasing records. His focus, he said, is on helping Charlotte win and learning how to contribute consistently on both ends of the floor. Privately, team sources say he appreciates the praise, but also understands the weight of expectations when legends begin mentioning your name alongside Stephen Curry. The debate will continue as the season progresses, especially if Nuple maintains his current pace. If he keeps trending upward, the comparisons will only grow louder. And while Curry's place atop the record books remains secure for now, Miller's remarks have introduced a new question into the NBA conversation, not just whether someone can challenge Curry one day, but whether the league is finally producing players built to chase the kind of numbers once considered unreachable. Former NBA star suggests a Klay Thompson return to the Warriors as Jonathan Kuminga is certain to be traded. Jonathan Kuminga's situation with the Golden State Warriors has become one of the most talked-about storylines in the league. Kuminga opened the season on a high note, earning a spot in the starting lineup and delivering strong two-way performances that hinted at a breakout year. But as the season progressed, his shooting efficiency dipped and his consistency wavered, prompting Steve Kerr to move him back to the bench. He's currently averaging 13.8 points per game, yet a lingering knee issue has sidelined him for multiple contests and only fueled speculation that the Warriors may be preparing to move on from him. Chandler Parsons points to Kuminga's silence as a major sign of an impending breakup. Former NBA forward and current analyst Chandler Parsons believes Kuminga is headed for a trade, and soon. His reasoning centers on Kuminga's silence regarding his long-term future with Golden State, especially in the post-Stephen Curry era. "I just think Kuminga is destined to be traded," Parsons said. "Personality-wise, fit-wise, relationship-wise, he's going to end up being the scapegoat. He's not someone who looks fully comfortable. He's not someone who talks about being here long-term. We've already heard pods say he wants the torch passed to him." Parsons contrasted Kuminga's quiet approach with Brandon Podziemski's vocal commitment to becoming a foundational piece for the franchise moving forward. Kuminga has far more upside and has had a more productive start to his career, yet you've never heard him say anything about wanting Golden State to be his team, or about taking the franchise forward after Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Jimmy Butler. That's why, to me, he's the obvious trade candidate. Parsons floats a reunion with Klay Thompson, but the numbers don't quite fit. With Kuminga's future unclear, Parsons went a step further and proposed something that would have sounded unthinkable a year ago, bringing Klay Thompson back to the Warriors. "I'd love to see Klay Thompson come back somehow," Parsons said. "He doesn't seem to have a real role right now, and I don't know if it changes much for Golden State, but having him back would be great." But even Parsons acknowledged the challenges. Thompson is past his prime and currently averaging just 10.3 points per game. Meanwhile, the Warriors are seeking either younger players or more productive contributors in any deal involving Kuminga, a player who still carries significant upside. If Golden State were to seriously consider a reunion, they would likely need to structure a multiplayer deal, possibly using Buddy Hield's contract as salary ballast alongside additional rotational pieces to make the numbers work. For now, Kuminga's uncertain future continues to hover over the franchise, and the idea of Klay Thompson's return, while nostalgic, remains complicated. But as the Warriors struggle to define their next era, no scenario feels completely off the table. As trade rumors intensify, the conversation around Golden State's future has grown louder, especially among former players and league insiders. Many believe the franchise is approaching a crossroads, continue holding onto young talent in hopes of developing a new core, or reshape the roster around the final years of Stephen Curry's career. Warriors insiders grow divided on Kuminga's role. According to several team observers, Kuminga's uncertain trajectory has caused internal disagreement within the organization. Some members of the front office reportedly view him as a long-term investment, an athletic, improving two-way wing who could still make a leap once given more structure and responsibility. Others, however, worry that his development curve does not align with the urgency of maximizing Curry's remaining championship window. This divide has only intensified as the team continues to hover around mediocrity, suffering from inconsistent defense, stagnant offense, and a lack of reliable secondary scoring. Kuminga's frustration has not gone unnoticed. While Kuminga has remained publicly silent, several sources close to the team suggest that his frustration with both his role and the organization has grown over the past 2 seasons. His demotion to the bench, combined with reduced touches and prolonged stretches without involvement, has reportedly added to the tension. Coaches have emphasized that Kuminga's growth requires patience, discipline, and better decision-making in fast-paced situations. But with the Warriors struggling, patience has become harder to maintain. Curry's influence looms over every decision. At the center of the discussion remains Stephen Curry. The franchise knows it cannot waste another year of his prime, especially with questions growing about whether the current roster can realistically contend in the Western Conference. Some analysts argue that trading Kuminga for more seasoned, playoff-ready pieces could be the only viable path to keep the championship window alive. Others warn that moving on from a 22-year-old with elite upside could become a franchise-defining mistake. The idea of a Klay Thompson reunion sparks mixed reactions. The suggestion of bringing Klay Thompson back has drawn emotional split reactions from Warriors fans and analysts alike. For some, Thompson's return symbolizes loyalty, familiarity, and a return to the identity that shaped a dynasty. For others, it represents a step backward, one that does little to address the team's most pressing needs. While Chandler Parsons' idea gained traction online, most league executives agree that a Thompson for Kuminga deal, even with salary balancing, would be unlikely. Thompson's recent decline in mobility and shooting consistency makes him a sentimental, rather than strategic, acquisition. Growing pressure as the trade deadline approaches. With the trade deadline approaching, the Warriors are expected to explore multiple scenarios involving Kuminga. Rival teams have already expressed interest, particularly those in rebuilding phases who see Kuminga as a potential foundational piece. Golden State, meanwhile, must decide whether to prioritize the distant future or the immediate present. Whichever direction they choose, the decision is poised to reshape the franchise's identity, possibly ending the last remaining threads of the dynasty era. And with Kuminga's silence continuing to fuel speculation, the sense of inevitability surrounding his departure grows stronger each day. Kyrie Irving believes LeBron James was taking a subtle shot at Stephen Curry during his latest interview, and he didn't hesitate to make that clear. Irving shared a social media post hinting that LeBron's recent praise of Curry might have carried a hidden message. The relationship between LeBron James and Kyrie Irving has always fascinated NBA fans. From the moment they became teammates, there was an undeniable tension between them, even during their most dominant years together. By 2017, things had boiled over. Irving left LeBron and the Cavaliers after their partnership became strained and ultimately unsustainable. For a while, it seemed like the past had been buried. LeBron publicly wished Kyrie nothing but the best, and many believed the two had finally moved on. But have things really changed? Kyrie Irving has now reposted a fan's claim that LeBron disrespected Stephen Curry. A fan on X interpreted a post from LeBron and JJ Redick's Mind the Game podcast, which called Stephen Curry the greatest shooter of all time, as a disguised jab. For the untrained eye, that caption looks like a compliment, the fan wrote. Surprisingly, Kyrie reposted the comment, signaling he agreed with the idea that LeBron's message wasn't as innocent as it appeared. This feels like the latest flare-up in a long and complicated history between LeBron and Kyrie, a relationship filled with sharp comments and subtle digs. What began years ago, when Irving rejected LeBron's attempt to mentor him, has only snowballed into more tension and passive-aggressive back-and-forths. It's easy to forget, given their rocky dynamic, just how well LeBron James and Kyrie Irving played together. Despite Irving's insistence that he didn't leave Cleveland because of LeBron, their years of indirect shade tell a different story. And with where both stars are in their careers, combined with how strained things seem behind the scenes, one thing feels certain: LeBron James and Kyrie Irving will never be teammates again. In the hours that followed Kyrie's repost, the NBA community reacted quickly. Some fans saw it as Kyrie simply defending Stephen Curry, a player he has openly praised in the past. Others viewed it as yet another chapter in the long unresolved tension between Kyrie and LeBron, a tension that seems to resurface whenever either of them makes the slightest remark that can be interpreted as shade. Analysts also weighed in, noting that LeBron has a habit of delivering compliments that can be read in multiple ways. While calling Curry the greatest shooter ever is hardly controversial, the timing and framing of the post raised eyebrows. The fact that Kyrie chose to amplify a fan interpretation, rather than clarify or dismiss it, only fueled speculation that the relationship between the two stars may be more strained than fans believed. Some close to the league have pointed out that LeBron's history of competitive politicking has often put him at odds with former teammates. From Kevin Love to Kyrie and even younger players who have entered his orbit, LeBron's leadership style has long been dissected. Kyrie's sensitivity to those dynamics is well documented, making his reaction to the podcast post feel less like a surprise and more like a pattern repeating itself. Meanwhile, the exchange has sparked wider conversations about the evolving hierarchy of NBA superstars. The ongoing Curry-LeBron dynamic, a rivalry defined by finals matchups and contrasting philosophies, continues to shape how their comments are interpreted. Some fans argued that Kyrie might be projecting past frustrations, while others insisted that he recognized something in LeBron's phrasing that casual viewers overlooked. As for Stephen Curry, he has stayed silent, consistent with his usual approach to off-court drama. People close to him reportedly believe he is unfazed by the online debate, focusing instead on his team's performance. Still, the discourse around his name has once again turned into a proxy battle between two former teammates whose shared history refuses to fade. The ripple effects of this moment stretch beyond social media. League insiders noted that the episode underscores why any reunion between LeBron and Kyrie, a topic that resurfaces every off-season, remains unrealistic. Their personalities, priorities, and interpretations of respect within the sport appear too far apart to reconcile. If anything, the latest exchange reminds fans of the complexity of superstar relationships in the modern NBA. Public comments are rarely just comments, and gestures that seem supportive can carry undertones shaped by years of competition, pride, and unresolved tension. Whether this moment becomes just another footnote or sparks a new wave of indirect exchanges remains to be seen, but one thing is clear: the storyline between LeBron James and Kyrie Irving continues to evolve, long after their on-court partnership ended. Stephen Curry may need to borrow a page from his former teammate LeBron James if he wants to extend his career, according to a former NBA star. Even as he approaches age 38, Curry remains the undisputed best player on the Golden State Warriors. The era when NBA icons retired at 35 is long gone. Today, more and more players are stretching their careers well into their late 30s, and sometimes beyond. Whether it's LeBron James or Stephen Curry, the league's greatest superstars refuse to say goodbye to the game. But playing deep into one's late career comes with its own set of challenges. In Curry's case, the Warriors' heavy dependence on him has pushed the four-time champion into an exhausting role as the team's primary scoring engine. And former NBA standout Lou Williams believes that if Curry wants to avoid breaking down, he may need to adjust his game. Lou Williams says Stephen Curry should take a Ray Allen approach to extend his longevity. Right now, the season is still young, and Curry is carrying the Warriors as he always has. But fans watched his body show signs of wear during last year's playoffs. To prevent that from happening again, Williams has a proposal. Curry should eventually transition into a secondary scoring role, similar to the one Ray Allen embraced late in his career. He can be Ray Allen, Williams said on Run It Back. He could become a third or fourth option and just be a three-point shooter, whether it's spot-ups or corner threes. He could space the floor and still give a team elite shooting. Williams added, "I don't know if he'd be able to defend at a high level as he gets older, so maybe he gives up a couple of twos for threes. But if you look at his career and the way he shoots the ball, if Steph stays healthy, he could play for a long, long time." Ray Allen's career offers a strong blueprint. After leaving the Boston Celtics, Allen took on a reduced role with the Miami Heat, and still won another championship. He wasn't the star anymore, yet he became a legend again in the 2013 finals with his iconic Game 6 three-pointer against the San Antonio Spurs. Chandler Parsons believes Stephen Curry could play until he's 45. Williams' co-host, former NBA forward Chandler Parsons, took the idea even further, suggesting that Curry's style of play could allow him to stay active in the league far longer than anyone expects. His game is going to age incredibly well, Parsons explained. A lot of guys rely on athleticism, and once that slips, their production drops. But with the way Steph shoots the ball, it's not crazy to think he could play until he's 45. For now, that's a discussion for the distant future. Curry's immediate focus remains on lifting the Warriors, who sit at 10-9 in the regular season, back into true contention. The conversation around Curry's longevity has sparked a wider debate across the league. As teams increasingly prioritize player preservation, analysts believe the Warriors may eventually need to rethink how they rely on their franchise cornerstone. For years, Golden State's offense has revolved around Curry's movement, gravity, and off-ball activity, a system that demands exceptional conditioning and relentless energy. While it has produced championships, it has also placed enormous physical strain on a player now nearing his fourth decade. Some observers argue that the organization must step in before Curry is forced to adjust on his own. The Warriors' last 2 seasons have highlighted how difficult it is to keep pace with younger teams when the roster leans heavily on a veteran star. Several insiders have suggested that Golden State may need to transition toward a system that allows Curry to conserve energy, particularly during the regular season. That could mean adding more playmaking support, diversifying the offensive options, or limiting the minutes in which Curry is required to be the sole engine of the attack. Meanwhile, former players and coaches have weighed in on whether Curry could realistically adopt a specialized late-career role. Some believe his conditioning, discipline, and shooting mechanics give him a unique advantage. Unlike players who rely on athleticism or physical dominance, Curry's skill set is built to age well, provided he avoids the injuries that often accompany high-usage roles. Others, however, caution that transitioning from superstar to role player is easier said than done. Doing so requires not only physical adjustment but also a shift in mentality, something few former MVPs have been willing or able to embrace. The comparison to Ray Allen continues to generate discussion. Allen's willingness to adapt his game extended his career and secured one of the defining moments in NBA Finals history. Yet the situations differ. Curry is the face of a franchise, the foundation of a dynasty, and the primary reason the Warriors remain competitive. Moving him into a supporting role would not simply require personal acceptance. It would require a complete philosophical shift within the organization. The debate has also reignited speculation about how much longer Curry intends to play. While he hasn't publicly outlined a timeline, those close to him describe a player deeply committed to preparation and fascinated by the longevity of athletes like Tom Brady and LeBron James. With modern sports science and Curry's meticulous approach to training, it's possible his career could extend well beyond league norms. But the key variable remains workload, and whether Golden State can build a roster capable of sharing the burden. Even within the Warriors' locker room, there is growing recognition of how critical it is to preserve Curry for the years ahead. Younger players have publicly acknowledged the need to step up, while coaches have hinted at potential adjustments to maintain his efficiency throughout the season. The front office faces similar pressure. Decisions made over the next year may determine whether Curry enjoys a sustainable second phase of his career or continues to be pushed to the brink. For now, the conversation is mostly theoretical. Curry continues to compete at an elite level, delivering performances that defy age and expectation. But the noise surrounding his future reflects a larger truth. The league is evolving, its stars are aging differently, and the blueprint for career longevity is no longer linear. Whether Curry chooses to reinvent himself like Ray Allen, maintain LeBron-level durability, or forge his own path, the coming years will reshape not only his legacy but the direction of the Warriors as a whole.